Hello everyone and welcome to another custom figure showcase. And here it is, the one you've all been waiting for. It is a blank screen. No. Now there is a reason that you're not seeing anything on screen at the moment, and I will explain that in 1 second. Firstly, however, I would just like to make a point of saying, yes, I am well aware that we are getting an official resolution Dalek. It was absolutely sod's law that just as I had finished making this, the news that an official one was coming was leaked, and I was so far into this that I just didn't want to scrap it or do anything with it, so I decided to finish it. So before anyone says, bit pointless making this now, or you know we're getting an official one, yes, I do know. I just wanted to get this finished because it is something that I've had literally been working on for months and been planning since last year, and I just didn't want to see all of my work go to waste. But that aside, the reason that it's not on screen right now is because just before I show you the finished painted Dalek, I would like to show you the closest that I'm going to get to a live from the workshop for this, because whilst when you look at the finished figure you may think there's a lot of Dalek parts in this, like official Dalek parts, actually the majority of this was completely scratch built, and so I recorded a quick piece before painting it to show you exactly how much of this I actually had to make from scratch myself. So here you can see the Dalek unpainted. Now I actually have no idea at the time of recording this what it's going to look like when I finish painting it, because obviously this is being recorded before the bit that you've just seen. But I wanted to do this bit because I wanted to show you all exactly what's gone into this. And this is partly a reason why I immediately said no, I'm not making it, because this really shows you how much work has had to actually go into this. This isn't cobbled together from parts. The majority of this is scratch built, and what few parts there are I have had to heavily modify. So basically the only original parts, when I say original parts I mean actual original Dalek pieces that I have modified, is we've got Davros's skirt and base, we have a Crucible Dalek claw with a normal Dalek gun stalk, obviously the two ball joints. Underneath all of this is an Ironside Dalek midsection, and then the dome is an Ironside Dalek underneath to get the general shape, and also then we've got a we've got the end piece and the swivel joint of a Ironside Dalek as well, but I have used a new bit of rod to actually do the eye, so the actual iris itself is the iris and the socket are the only actual Dalek eyepieces there is. And then also the lights on top are trimmed down Dalek lights, and that is the only original pieces. Everything else you see here, everything that is yellow or is white, is actually scratch built that I have made myself, and it really does sort of show how much has gone into this. So to take it apart, because obviously this isn't glued together either, we have the dome piece, or the other Dalek bit as well, which is, sorry I should have said this, is I've taken the top section ring of a Dalek to make the neck rings, and then I've also put some lollipop stick doweling on there to make the ridges on it. And then we take out, the midsection, and there you basically have the Dalek in its individual parts. That's pretty much how I made it. But basically, all of the yellow stuff is Milliput, which I've sculpted on, and then these white bits are just card and paper, and I've had to cut those to size to make them all up. And then on the midsection, if I rotate it round, you can see this is where the Ironside Dalek bit cuts off, and then the back of it is literally just all card and Milliput. That's all been completely scratch built, and you know, obviously, and then put a base on it as well. So if I just stack it back together, it's not perfect as you see it here. I haven't sort of filed off and refined the edges of it, so it is a little bit off-centered and whatnot. But you can generally get an idea of how this has all come together. And I'll just do a quick 360 turn on it as well. It's quite difficult to turn it a little bit because some of it's still a little bit soft. So you can see on the back there as well where I've done all of the rivets and everything, and then on the side as well I've raised up some of the panels that it has, which I'm obviously going to paint up, and the ridges and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much the Dalek as it stands, and this is also sort of, I wanted to show you this because it partly shows the reason why I originally said no, I didn't want to make it, because a lot of people, there have been some fantastic ones. A while back there was someone who did it absolutely, I mean quite literally spot on to what was seen on screen. It was a 3D printing casting and it was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely perfect, and I definitely couldn't get something better than that. But when I sort of looked at the Dalek on screen for the first time, I sort of thought, I'm not really interested, and then I looked at it and I thought, you know what, actually, you could cobble it together from parts, which is again something else I'd seen a lot of other people do. But the more I saw other people do that, and I saw them trimming down actual Dalek pieces and chopping and changing them together, and I looked at it and it didn't look quite right. It looked more, a lot of them tended to look, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, I want to make that clear, you know, it's just how other people prefer to do things, but the way I did it is when I looked at other Daleks that had been cut down, it just looked like a new series Dalek in the shape of a resolution Dalek. It didn't look wholly different to a general new series Dalek, and so again I sort of looked and I thought, it's another reason I don't want to do it, because it will take so much work to get it together and to sculpt it and to put it all together. And so eventually, obviously, you know, I decided that I was going to do that and that I was going to work on it in secret, which is why I've always denied that I was making it before this video came out. But the thing is, as you can see here, you can see exactly why I put it off, not put it off for so long, but why I didn't originally want to do it, and then why it took me almost a year to get it finished, because you can see exactly how much, you know, work has gone into this. And it's still not perfect, it's still not completely accurate, but it's the best I could do in the time I had to plan it, then build it, well, plan it, then look at the original design, plan it, then design it, then get the parts, then build it. And you know, it's a lot of work to have been done. It really has taken me from beginning to end, well, from beginning to where you see it now, we're probably looking at, I think it's been about, I would say, 6-7 months of sort of from the first off planning stages to the final building. The initial planning stages of doing this design, I would say, took maybe 5 months, because I had to go back and chop and change and combine different parts and look at different things. The actual building stages, and I mean actually building this bit by bit, has probably taken me about 2 months to do this. So it is something that, you know, I often say I'm very pleased with how it came out, but I really am with this, because this is probably one of the continually longer projects that I've ever done that's taken a great amount of time. And I'm, you know, it is something that I do feel, you know, as much as I don't like to sort of big my own work up, I do look at this and I think, do you know what, this is actually really good, and I'm really pleased with the final product. Or at least I'm pleased with the final sculpting product. Obviously at the time I'm recording this, as I said, I haven't seen the finished painted product yet, so I certainly hope I did it justice. But as I said, you know, I wanted to show this bit off so I could show you how it had all come together, and I know people often want to see sort of work in progress videos, and originally I would have liked to have done this as a live from the workshop, but it was too much. It would have taken too long to record, and I would have ended up probably doubling my construction time to get this finished. And as I said, the problem with doing live from the workshops when it comes to using Milliput and doing things like this is because you've got to basically wait for the drying time. So once you've sculpted it, the sculpting maybe takes, I don't know, an hour at most, and then you've got to wait for it to dry, which could take another 12 hours depending on, you know, how long it takes. So it's just not something that was really possible to film. So this is sort of the closest I wanted to get to doing a live from the workshop, because I did want to show off exactly how much work had gone into this. I did want to show people exactly what this was made up of, because I'm sure some people might look at it immediately and say, well, which part's this, which part's that? This is the parts it is, but the simple fact is the majority of parts are in fact have been scratch built. So anyway, back to the rest of the video. And here it is, my finished painted resolution Dalek. So let's do a quick 360-degree look for you. This is one of those things that I say all the time. I'm so pleased with how this came out, but this is just so far better than anything that I have ever made before. Probably anything I'm going to make again. and this is something that I never thought I would ever do, because it was just so much work. It represented absolutely months of toil, and it was just something that I really didn't think would ever happen, and yet here it is, not only in custom form, but obviously also we're getting an official version. So obviously, as well as I think I mentioned this in the previous one, but if I didn't, you can see it now. We have retained some articulation in the head, also in the eye stalkers, not a lot. The arms as well are slightly articulated, as is the gun stick. There is no midsection articulation or anything like that, but just getting those bits of articulation is something that I'm incredibly proud of and incredibly pleased with. It came out so much better than I thought, and it really has just, it's blown me away how good this has come out. The only downside to this was that I have been planning this for so long, as I said, almost a year, and I've been working on it for months, and I really wanted to try and keep this a secret, to really surprise people, because I was so adamant that I wasn't making it, all the while behind the scenes that I was actually working on it. But then when we got the official announcement, I sort of had to, I felt like I had to reveal mine, because then I realised I would have gotten people saying, oh, I know this is a surprise, but you know we're getting an official one soon, etc, 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 and it was just easier to mention it and say I'm doing it than have to sort of go through all of that. But, as you may have seen if you're watching this not on Christmas Day, in the thumbnail there are a couple of other customs in this. If you are watching this Christmas Day, then this will be a surprise, because I looked at this and I thought, I love doing the Dalek. Dalek's brilliant. What else could I do with this that's a surprise? So, here are the surprises. So we have the 13th Doctor, complete with her scarf, and also Lin from the same episode. So the 13th Doctor with her scarf is quite literally that, a 13th Doctor with a scarf. The scarf is actually made from a 4th Doctor scarf, but I have added some little bits of Milliput around the edges to sort of change the curl of it, and then all I've done is completely cut out the long sections and simply reattached the end frills to the sections of the scarf. It's not perfect, I admit, and it does look a little bit off. Its sort of shape's a bit off and the colours aren't perfect, but alongside the Dalek, I think it looks perfect, it works perfectly. But the Lin figure is the one that I'm really proud of, because that really was a last-minute cobble together of just random parts. So to take you over it, we have a set of primeval Claudia Brown or Jenny Lewis legs. I'm not sure which one, but one of those two. Excuse me. We then have the hair is from a Clara Oswald figure, the face is an Amy Pond figure, and then the torso is actually a Stephen Primeval figure, which I have then very heavily modified and painted. And the modifications that I've made to it are to what you're actually seeing underneath Lin, her undershirt, the police shirt, the collars of that, that's the original collars of the coat. I've then sculpted on the collars of the police jacket, and then obviously I've sculpted on radio one side, and then we've got a primeval radio the other, and then overall it is just a case of having added the police detailing and painting it, and I think it worked really well, because it really had the sort of right look of a slightly sort of bulky police jacket, as they sort of are, they're high-vis ones. My initial thought was that she did look a little bit giraffe-necked as well, but when now I actually see her in line with the Dalek and Jodie, I actually think it looks alright, because she does have a sort of quite sort of almost polo neck zip-up shirt, zip-up fleece underneath the police jacket, so I do think that's worked very well. And I'm very pleased to have these as a sort of trilogy of figures, because they look so good together. And the Lin figure is just sort of one that I wouldn't have otherwise done, and it was a real struggle to try and find something in that episode that was slightly different, but I thought the Lin figure looked really good. I did consider doing her using an Abby Maitland Primeval figure with the Dalek on her back and around her arms, and I also considered having some Dalek tentacles coming out from her hand, but it really sort of, it was a difficult thing to do in the short amount of time I had left after having this idea, and it was just, when I looked through my bin of parts, doing the police version really just sort of jumped out at me because I had all the parts. It required a fairly minimal amount of milliput to do the sculpting, and other than that, everything else was just so much paint, and it really has come out really well, and I'm really pleased that what was originally supposed to be one surprise figure has turned out into one semi-surprise figure and two very surprised figures. So I certainly hope the surprise and wait was well worth it for all of you as well. But that pretty much brings to a close another custom figure showcase. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. Be sure to go to the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation where you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.